Welcome back to the Ottawa studios of Inside My Canoe Head. I'm your host, Dr. D. Today we are talking about your preparedness superpower. So sit back, grab yourself your favorite beverage. Let's get at her. All right, welcome back, and thanks again for joining us, all the new listeners, everybody checking out InsideMyCanoehead.ca. We have had an explosion of followers in the month of September. We're headed to be the best month ever in the over 4 years that this podcast has been rocking the preparedness message. Thanks again for joining us. It is becoming a crazy world in the world of politics, in the world of economics, in the world of global conflict. Everywhere we seem to look, the shizzy hits the fizzy in some way, shape, or form. But why don't we sit back and take a bit and think about, hey, what can I do in this world of craziness? All these things that are happening beyond my control, right? What can I do to improve the odds of myself having a better post-event outcome? Myself and my family, my household being able to better navigate the next punch upside the head that I won't see coming, whether it be in a political sphere, an economic sphere, a cultural sphere, an actual natural event that occurs, or some other calamity befalls my family, my friends, my business, whatever it may be. What can I do? And now we always, here at Inside My Canoe Head, and in my work that I've done in over a decade of preparedness education, we always look through the frame of personal responsibility, right? It's not about assigning blame. It's not about saying, if you're not prepared right now, it's your fault, you dumb ninny, or whatever you want to say. It's about personal responsibility is about looking at what the Stoics have to say, that there are very few things within our lives that are within our control, right? If you think of the world around you, from Israel to Ukraine to Taiwan to the state of inflation, the labor market, the unemployment rate, the mortgage rates, all these things that impact how you do your life, how many of those things are actually within your control? And this is what the Stoics always meant about there is very little that's actually within your control. But that's perfect, because the things that are within your control are incredibly influential about your future, that can impact your future, that can change your world. So your superpower, your preparedness superpower, is in fact that incredible person staring back at you in the mirror in the morning, right? And we always talk about preparedness as the first part of it is accepting responsibility from your outcomes, right? It doesn't mean you're alone. It doesn't mean we assign blame that right now, whatever your world looks like, as down and destitute or as rocking as it may be at this point in time, as you're listening to this podcast, it's not your fault. This is not about blaming fault and assigning where you are and saying you made a bunch of dumb choices. It's about sitting down, pouring your favorite beverage, as I always say, sit back in your comfy chair and just think, is this the path that I want to go down, or do I want to do something different, right? It's accepting that here I am, irrespective of how I got here. This is not where I want to be. The world's turning pear-shaped and crazy on me, and I simply feel like I'm losing control, or that I don't have control of what's going on in my life. And you know what? I've had enough of that. It's really starting at that point, right? It's not an investment of money. I'm not going to tell you to buy anything. I'm not going to tell you to invest in a whole bunch of products. What I am going to tell you, it's about time and effort. So your superpower and preparedness is about the first thing that we tell you to do after accepting responsibility for your outcomes. This is in my podcast. It's in my book. It's in my course. It's in everything. It's in my blogs, is your physical, mental, and financial health. That is 100% within your control, and that is the most influential thing that you can do to adopt a prepared life and to accept preparedness into your life and make some significant changes. So today, we're going to talk about, in today's crazy world, with no monetary investment, what you can do to transform your life. It's really that simple. No monetary investment. I'm not going to ask you to buy any single piece of gear in this podcast. I'm not going to tell you to spend any money. I'm not going to tell you to join any clubs. I'm not here to sell you something. Other than the idea that if you want to do things differently, if you want different outcomes than you're experiencing now, or you want better outcomes, no one's coming to save you, right? You have to do it yourself and frame it in this discussion. You're not on your own, right? This doesn't mean that you're a lone wolf and you're doing this by yourself. You're doing it within a community, and we'll talk about that after we cover your superpower. We'll talk about the power of community and really how to exponentially leverage the ideas and the strengths that you're after. But number one is, once you accept personal responsibility, is looking at your physical health, right? Your physical health is within your control, and we talk about it in the book, and it encompasses three things. The first one is diet. I've said 100 times, and you may not believe me, but every fitness expert or health expert worth their weight in gold is going to tell you that you cannot outwork a bad diet. It doesn't matter how much time you exercise or how much time you spend in a gym or what memberships you have or what classes you take. You cannot outwork a bad diet. 75% or more of the gains you will make in your overall health come directly and solely from what you put into the pie hole. That's what we used to say in the Army, throw everything down the pie hole and let's get after it. It's about what you eat. And what I say is I'm not a nutritionist, okay? That's number one. I'm not a medical doctor. So what worked for me is simply I ate food. I made the choice to eat food. That means food has one ingredient. Right? I characterize everything as there's food, and then there's manufactured goods that are reasonably digestible by the human animal. Right? Food has a single. So a potato is a food. French fries you get at a store is a manufactured good that's reasonably digestible by a human animal. At one time, it might have looked like potatoes. Eat the potato. Eat the corn. Eat the fish. Eat the steak. Eat the asparagus, eat the tomatoes, not products that are made with them and have a whole bunch of other crap you can't pronounce added in. Simply put, I don't care whether you're a pescatarian, vegetarian, carnivore, herbivore, or some other weird word that I have yet to come across. Eat food. That's what worked for me. I simply ate food. And if I made something, I made it myself. Like, for example, unleavened bread, my favorite thing. It is flour that I get from sources I trust and water. That's it. And a little bit of salt for flavoring. Or what I like to do is to throw in some other spices, natural spices, but other spices like garlic or something into it. And I just mix it up and make flatbread out of it and fry it in the frying pan. It's my favorite freaking thing. It's delicious. You can put great flavors into it, but it's food. It's actual real food. It's really that simple, right? And if you eat food, healthy food does not cost more money. I know people are going to lose their crap at the other end of the microphone and say eating a healthy diet costs money. And absolutely no, it does not. Absolutely not. I mean, this time of year, I'm buying $10 bags of potatoes for cheaper than I'm buying $3 bags of potatoes. Like, there's just a plethora of amount of vegetables that are available out there. I don't buy vegetables in the produce section, right? Everything that's sitting there on the shelves is not a fresh vegetable. I get all of my vegetables, other than what I get from a local farm that's about 30 kilometers from my house in a community-supported agricultural event. Other than that, every piece of vegetable I get is frozen. Frozen vegetables have a higher level of nutrient density than what you get sitting in the produce aisle. That's just a fact. It doesn't matter whether you think. See, a lot of us are persuaded that when we see a head of, a bunch of green beans sitting in the produce aisle and we can hold the real green bean, that somehow that green bean is a higher nutrient density than the frozen green bean, right? We think we're doing our family a favor by buying all of this fresh, quote, air quote, vegetables because they're in its natural state, but frozen is not. In fact, frozen is most, and sometimes it takes a bit of looking into the brand to make sure, but the vast majority of frozen vegetables and frozen fruits are flash frozen within 6 hours of picking, right? That green bean that you have no idea how long it's been since that sucker was picked. Let's be honest. Again, unless you're getting it from a local farm that I used to do for several years, that I would pay money in January, February. The farmer and I would share the risk on what came out of the field. I give him like $500-600, and then I would get 13 weeks of boxes of fresh vegetables. When it was a good year, I had more vegetables than I knew what to do with. When it was a challenging year, I had less, but we accepted the risk together. The dirt was still on the vegetable. I knew they picked it the day before. I could go to the farm and watch them picking my box if I wanted to, right? It was wide open. When you go to the grocery store, do you have any idea where those fruits and vegetables are from, right? Like, just, it's craziness. Anyhow, the whole idea of taking care of yourself and your superpower and preparedness is eating food. Eat real food. The second part of your physical health is sleep, right? You need to get sleep. And there's a great sleep expert who was a guest on Joe Rogan, and he talked about the fact that the total number of people who can operate at optimal levels with less than 6 hours of direct sleep every night is zero. It's absolutely zero. Now, there are people out there that claim they can operate on more, but they don't. Science tells you that's not true. Can you get stuff done? Yeah, absolutely. Can you get 3 hours of sleep, power through 3 cups of coffee downrange and power through something? Yes, but you are not working optimal. You have to sleep. So what worked for me, people say go to bed early. What worked for me, and this is just my case, is getting up early, right? Because I don't know about you, I can lay in bed at 10 o'clock at night and go, boy, I wish I would go to sleep. I really need to go to sleep. And I can't influence that. I can't force myself to go to sleep. But what I can do is force myself to get up. So for a period of time when I needed to get a sleep schedule, I'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I get up, get out of bed, get after it, right? I was up, and then no caffeine afternoon. So by 8 o'clock that night, I was a drooling, droopy piece of you-know-what who was dead tired and had to sleep. When I crawled into, as we said in the Army, when I crawled into the fart sack, I was gone in a heartbeat, right? So for me, I couldn't influence better and more sleep by going to bed early because I would just lay there with a million miles things going through my brain. The only thing that worked for me is I got up absurdly early for a series of days in a row to force myself to be exceptionally tired at 8 p.m. and then the cycle works. So you need to eat real food and you need to get sleep. Those are both within your control. They don't cost more money than you're expending right now, and they are 100% impactful. The last one is exercise, right? Now, I've been a member of a gym before. I was in the Army for 28 years, so fitness was a big thing. Go for a walk, right? This is what I constantly, and an old Buddhist adage says, eat half, walk double, laugh 3 times, and love unconditionally. And it was their recipe for a great life. So basically, what worked for me is I walk outside in the weather, and I live in Ottawa, Canada, so you could imagine it's a full spectrum of weather. Our weather will change roughly 60, 65 degrees Celsius in the range of a year, top to bottom. So I walk outside for an hour a day. So if I'm awake 18 hours a day, 1 hour a day is I walk outside in the weather. Now, appropriately dressed for the weather, yes. Sometimes I would take a weighted vest and do some exercise with it, but really the idea was getting out. And if you want to do some muscle building exercises, there's a whole bunch of free assets online that show you how to do body weight fitness, push-ups, that kind of thing. For me, my favorite was to get back in shape was Nerd Fitness. Now, I'm not supported by them. They don't make any money, but they have some basic body weight workout plans there that are 100% free of charge, cost you no money. You don't have to buy anything, and you combine that with a walking regime, and now you've addressed your physical health, right? Your number one superpower gets addressed because you invested no money, a little bit of time, and made a conscious decision that I want to do something different. So you've decided whatever your diet is, I'm going to eat real food, single ingredient food. When you have a package in your hand, if there's more than one word under the ingredients list, you need to put it back. That's just what worked for me. Begin exercising at zero cost, just out for a walk. And if you can't go out for a walk, then walk around your apartment, walk around your house, go up and down your stairs, do body weight exercises, and then figure out what works for you to get better sleep. Like I said, for me, it worked getting up really, really early and forcing myself to be tired and not pumping it full of caffeine. So by 8:30 at night, I was a blubbering fool and crawling my way into bed and passing out tired, right? But if you get diet, exercise, and sleep squared away, you're good to go. When I mean squared away, I mean on the right road. That's the thing about preparedness, right? It is a longitudinal effort. That means it's time investment. You're not going to make superpower changes in your life about preparedness by doing it for 1 week. This is about taking a lifestyle change and then trusting that this will make a change over time, which is why the second part is so important. It's your mental health, right? Welcome to the 2020s. Stress levels, anxiety levels are through the roof. We're facing a whole bunch of exogenous shocks that are beyond our control. The world's upside down. We see graphic pictures. There's a whole bunch of stressors in our life. And a good number of people and several studies have come out to show the general anxiety level and stress level of the population is far higher, right? This is notable of respondents from questionnaires, etc. We are living in a more stressed environment. I can't tell you to stop being stressed. This is one downside of the Stoics, is that sometimes they're interpreted as meaning just choose not to be stressed anymore. Like you're going to wave this magical wand and stress will leave your life. No, doesn't work that way. It'd be great if it did. Trust me, everybody would benefit. But what worked for me to reduce my stress and anxiety is I looked at 3 things that I could control. Number 1 is I honestly did a no poop assessment as to everything that I was involved with, right? What does my life look like? And I created this chart, and there's 3 columns in the chart. Again, free of charge, doesn't cost you any money. What it was, how much time it cost me in the run of a week, and on average, did it increase or decrease the level of stress and anxiety in my life? So every job, every paid job, every volunteer organization, every principal relationship that I had with other people, every activity that I did, every leisure activity I did, this is what my life looked like. If I had to draw everything that I did in the normal run of a month, right? When I wasn't sleeping and taking care of basic ablutions, what did I choose to do with my life? Right. Again, as long as you live in a democracy, you have to earn a job. You're in a job right now. You may not like it, all that, but you list everything. And then you have a list of things that are on average causing you more stress than they bring in, right? Now, if one is your job, for example, and most people are going to say my job brings in the most stress in my life, and I'm not kidding, and quitting your job today is probably not an option in today's financial wherewithal and for today's world and higher rates of unemployment. But what you can do is start figuring out what it is that you would like to do in time so that you're working towards what you're going to replace the current job with. Right? So if you're in a position that is stressful, it drives you nuts, you're freaking out, you're pulling your hair out when you come home from work, you're just anxious like crazy, you likely probably can't quit today because guess what? Unless you're willing to go all in as an entrepreneur, which I got another podcast coming up about that. The likelihood is you need the money. You need to pay the rent. Inflation is up. All your costs are up. You can't quit your job right now. unless you have like a year of magical savings. And studies show the majority of us don't. So what can you work towards to fix that? So what I did with this list is I looked at and I love whiteboards because whiteboards are absolutely wonderful. You can just erase them. But if you use a piece of paper or a Hilroy scribbler, you just cross out the things that on average right now bring you joy. More joy than stress. And then I looked at toxic people. And this was one thing that was very impactful for me, was I made out of that list, I made a list of all of the human beings that I interact with that are voluntary, right? So if I interact with my boss and my boss is an idiot and causes me stress, I can't remove my boss from my life unless I quit. So I looked at the things that are within my control. I looked at the community organization. I look at the friend group. I look at people that are in my life voluntarily that bring, including family members. And this is the one that fires people up, right? I learned to fire toxic humans, including family members. Imagine firing cousins, uncles, aunts. Some people fire parents. I'm not going to talk about that level of chaos in your life. But look at all of the people that are in your life and the human beings that on balance do not bring you joy. Think about it. There's a great saying in Hollywood by a stalwart actor. And it simply goes something along the lines of surround yourself by people whose eyes light up when you walk into the room, right? Being in a relationship with you should be a privilege. So surround yourself with people that bring you joy. If you have a cousin or if you have a drama queen in your life, fire them. If you have a friend that decides they want to make everything huge, they're a narcissist, so it has to be about them, just fire them. And I don't mean Walmart quiet quitting, big announcement email saying I no longer want you in my life because I'm choosing happiness and joy. No, you just quiet quit them. And that simply means you just make a conscious decision that you will take 24 hours to answer their text, 48 hours to answer an email, and 2 days to make a decision when they ask you something. You don't respond. You just slowly let them go. You just remove the voluntary toxic people from your life. It was huge to reduce my anxiety. And some of them were family members. Some of them were close family members, but they were just narcissistic drama queens and drama Kevins. And it was like, okay, you're gone. Like, I just don't have time for you. It doesn't matter that you live 4 doors down from me. I just don't socialize with you anymore. I don't answer your texts. I don't answer your phone calls. I don't answer your emails. I wish you the best of luck in life, but I'm just no longer allowing you the privilege of being in my circle. Right? So the other one was calendar. Now, free time is huge. I love free time. Free time is what we call white space in the calendar in the Army. And it was basically there's nothing scheduled in my calendar, and that's exactly the way I want it. Right? My wife and I both live pretty chaotic lives by choice, but we have a rule in this household. Saturdays are unbooked, which means nobody is allowed to book something on a Saturday without the permission of the other person. It gives us the space to do nothing and to do nothing together, right? So I learned, and this was from Greg McEwen, if you've ever written his book, Essentialism. The whole idea behind it is if somebody asks you to do something, unless it's a stand up out of your chair, swing your legs in the air, hell yes, then the answer is no. Right? Matthew McConaughey used to say he is a very quick no and a long yes. If you ask me, hey, I need your answer on this today, I don't care what the question is. The answer will be no. It doesn't matter if you're a close family member. It doesn't matter. If you need an answer right away, then the answer is no. Absolutely, unequivocally, off you go. Wish you the best of luck. If you need an answer in a couple of days and I got time to think about it and figure out whether I can fit this in and whether it's I have the time and space available, it's important to me, then fabulous. I'll consider it and I'll get back to you in a couple of days. And I do. Right here on my whiteboard in my office in the studio, I have a whiteboard and it says 2 days to decision. And it's a little note to remind myself that anything anybody ever asks me to do, I take 48 hours to decide. Even if it's an incredible opportunity. I answer them, I acknowledge the offer, and I said, that's a great offer, my friend. I'm going to think about this. I'll get back to you. Say today is Thursday, right? So I'll get back to you Saturday afternoon. Right? And if they said, well, dude, I need the answer today, I'm like, awesome, fantastic. The answer's no. I wish you the best of luck in finding somebody. And then I go on with life. It's that religiously simple. I guard the space of my calendar crazy. For example, one thing that worked for me, I love my community. I'm a huge community person. I think it's actually our number one key. I'm going to talk about it later in this episode, to gaining leveraging preparedness across multiple families is building a sense of community and a sense of dedication. I dedicate time to one volunteer organization. There are many in my community that are worthy, that are looking for assistance. I pick one and I go all in to help that one, right? So I'm on the board of directors of an international community organization, and I contribute as much time as I can to that, to moving that mission forward to make the world a better place. But I don't do other community work. When I get the offer, I say, thank you very much for the offer. I appreciate you considering me for this, but I'm already committed to such and such organization for the next 3 years. And it just shuts it down. It's not like next month. It's not like maybe in the next cycle. No, I just want a board of directors election for this organization that I belong to for the next 3 years. I've made a commitment to be with them for 3 years. I do not have time and space to do other volunteer work. I'm sorry. I commit to my community, but I have one only, right? And so it's about doing your part, which we talk about in our 3 rules of life. But it's looking at the idea that you can only limit the amount of time, and that's 100% within your control, right? So what worked for me is I chose something that mattered to me. It mattered to me as a human. It provided benefit to my community, and I wanted to give back for all the wonderful things that my community did for me, so I chose one, right? So when I looked at my mental health, I took an assessment of my entire life, of everything that I was looked into, and then looked at everything that on balance in my personal reflection brought more stress than joy to me, right? So these are the things that on balance are contributing the most to my stress and anxiety. I need to put those up somewhere so I can look at them. And then I looked at toxic humans. Well, some of the toxic humans I had to keep, right? At the time I was working in the military, and at the time I had a really bad boss. I had a really toxic human as a boss, and I couldn't fire them. I couldn't sit them down and explain to them how to better be a human, or to stop talking to me in the way that they were talking to me, blah, blah. Like I was not in a position to do that. So I didn't worry about that. What I worried about is all the people who were voluntarily in my life. And then I looked at those people who were bringing me joy, and I loved them. And the people who on balance were not bringing me joy, I fired them. I just stopped talking to them. I refused to be involved in drama. When people start saying, oh my God, you wouldn't believe this person was talking to this person, I just walk away. I would literally walk away from somebody when they started telling me a drama story. I'm just not interested. I don't have the space in my stressful, anxious life to worry about the drama queens in the family and what they said to each other or what they texted to each other. Like, I'm just walking away. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to be part of it. It doesn't bring me joy. So I reduce my anxiety level by removing a handful of people through quiet quitting. I just stopped talking to them. And then I looked at my calendar where my time was being spent, so that I had a lot of white space in the calendar there, free space, where I didn't have to do anything, where I could calm and I could relax and I could garden or I could read a book. I could do things that brought me joy personally that didn't cost any money. And so through those 3 things, I was able to reduce my stress. Now, I don't eliminate it. Some stress is good, right? That's not what I'm after. I'm after trying to reduce and manage the stress and anxiety in my life down to a level where on balance, I have more joy than not. That's what I'm trying to do. So, and that's within your control, and it doesn't cost any money, right? Your ability to determine who gets in or who does not get in is it's up to you. It's well within your control. I'm recommending that you follow the same thing I did because it worked for me. If you can try something different, but by taking a look at my physical health and starting down a path of a better choices, it takes time. Looking at my mental health and starting down a path of choices, it takes time. And you gotta sit back and think, right? I mean, these two things are the most important two things in your life, which is your physical health and your financial health. They're your superpower. Absolutely, without a doubt, and 100% of that is within your control to influence. You're not going to remove stress from your life. You're not going to remove chaos from your life. And you're not going to remove unhealthy moments. But you can most certainly, on balance, influence those. And the last part of it is your financial health. Welcome to the 2020s. If the pandemic did not teach humanity about the influence of exogenous shocks on your income, I don't know what will. Now, unless you had a Gucci job that just kept getting paid and you were sent home and you were a white-collar worker and no influence, the vast majority of the population at one time or another had a significant impact on their financial position in life because of an event related to the pandemic. Now, some of those events were government decisions to lock down. I'm using it in a generalistic perspective. Those 4 years of the pandemic caused significant economic harm to people by the pandemic itself or decisions other people made, right? Those were all beyond your control. You did not have the ability to say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to participate in this, or I'm not going to participate in that. And if you made choices like that, you probably had financial impacts as a result of those, right? Your financial health is within your control. Now, it doesn't matter right now if you're broke. If you've got $45,000 of credit card debt and you've got a $3,000 a month income, it's about, again, deciding that I simply don't want to do this anymore. And I know that it's not somebody else's responsibility to pay my bills for me. It's not somebody else's responsibility to lower the costs around me. Like somebody needs to lower my rent. Somebody needs to lower my grocery prices. Somebody needs to lower my electricity prices. Like it's not somebody else's problem. Like you're not a victim. If you want to adopt the victim mentality, then I wish you the best of luck. What I'm talking about today is really not going to be useful to you because you don't accept responsibility. But if you look at the idea that financial health has three basic rules. First one is you have to run out of month before you run out of money. The only rule in economic or in finance is if you spend less than you make, you will never need savings. Think about that again. If you spend less money than you make, you'll never need savings. Now, what works for me is I follow the 80-20 rule, which means I'm allowed to spend 80% of my income on whatever the hell I want. And the other 20% is earmarked to savings, emergencies, and retirement. We'll talk about that in a second, right? So if I make $2,000 a month from my job, my available income is $1,600. That's it. It doesn't matter what the costs are around me. It doesn't matter how much my rent is. It doesn't matter how much food is. The only money that's available for me is $1,600. So if that means I'll have to live with three other people in a 2-bedroom apartment sharing a bedroom, that's what I have to do. Or I have to live, my first apartment was 4 guys in a bachelor apartment. Think about that, a 1-room studio and 4 guys, 4 beds, 1 in each corner, right? It's all the money we had. It wasn't somebody's fault that I couldn't afford an apartment. It wasn't somebody's fault. I wasn't oppressed because I didn't have my own place to live and a nice quality of life off of a job. No, I didn't make enough money, right? So I lived within my means. That's the choice that I made. And you have to. And everybody from Gary Vee to Dave Ramsey to every other financial guru you'll come across will tell you the number one thing you have to do is live within your means. So you have to cut your expenses until they're below your income. Right now. Like you have no choice. It's the only prescriptive thing I have. And it's the only thing that works. If you make $5,000, right, then you're going to spend, the most that you can spend every month is $4,000. You can't spend $4,200. I don't care that the other 1,000 exist. You can spend $4,000 all in every month on your life, and that's it. Right? If you're currently spending $4,500, you have to cut $500 a month in expenses. Right? You have no choice. You just literally have no choice. So park that one. You have to do that. The second one is retirement. When you retire, that is your responsibility to fund your retirement. Now, I'm in Canada. We have the Canada Pension Plan, which is mandatory for all salaried employees. We all contribute. You're going to get a little bit of money. Canada Pension Plan is designed to pay for about a third of your retirement income. So it's not meant to be your pension, but it's meant to cover about a third of your retirement income. So you have to figure out, and I would talk to a financial planner about this. I'm not what it does, but I use the simple system from the FIRE movement. FIRE in financial independence, retire early. These people that live off, 25% of their income. So if they make $2,000 a month, they're allowed to spend $500 all in, total, everything, rent, food, everything. The other $1,500 goes to investments and savings so that they can retire early, right? Now, you might say you can't live off $500. Yeah, you actually can. You can live off $500 a month, right? If four of you, if you're eating beans and rice, your only expense is a cell phone with a basic data plan, and there's four of you living in a bachelor's apartment, you most certainly can live off $500 a month. I'm not recommending that. I love life too much. But the point is that other 20%, you got to figure out what your retirement looks like, how much savings you need, etc., and then start a plan, talk to a financial planner, set yourself up for success, and set the way forward, right? Financial independence takes time. When I realized I was broke as you know what, and under that $20, $30, $40, $60, $100,000 of extra debt, it was ridiculous. I set a long-term plan. Now, Dave Ramsey says to do it quick. I did it over 7 years, right? That actually turned out to be 9. It ended up being a 9-year plan to get myself back up on my feet. But I made the plan. I set it forward. I fixed my expenses at 80%. Now, if I wanted more, getting into the last part of the third rule, if I wanted more money, then I had to earn more money. It's that simple. So whether it was a side hustle, side gig, studying hard at night in my free time to get the promotion at work, actively pursuing free education online so that I had a different skill set so I could apply for a higher income job. Like, I was doing all the things that are free, right? Because you gotta love YouTube. You can learn how to do pretty much any skill that doesn't have a legal certification requirement on YouTube for free of charge, and many other sites. MIT gives a whole bunch of their classes. Like, if you wanted to learn a new skill to earn more money, you can do that for free. How-to guides are all over the library. That you get a library card, it's free to rent. Like, the only thing stopping you learning a whole bunch of new skill sets is you. It doesn't cost any money. Don't give me that BS that you can't afford training costs, right? That's just an excuse for you not to do anything. The point here is, if you need more than 80% of your current take-home income to exist the way you want to exist, you need to earn more money, and that's your responsibility. So, for example, if you work at Walmart, and you want to earn some more money, but you want to stay working at Walmart, then you got to look at promotional opportunities, maybe picking up an extra shift, right? You got to be careful about that. You don't want to dominate your life with work just to get a few extra bucks, but start thinking about promotion, right? Where we run into a problem in society, and this is going to be my last soapbox rant before I get into the final part of today's episode. Everybody wants more money, but they don't want to do anything different. And I see this in almost every, I should be able to raise a family on a single income. I've chosen this profession. It currently pays $40,000. That's not enough. I'm oppressed and I'm a victim because I'm not being paid a living wage for what I've chosen as work, right? I want to work 40 hours a week in this field. It pays $40,000 a year. I need 60 for a living wage. I'm an oppressed victim because I'm not being paid the money I need to survive, right? That is such a navel-gazing reality in today's world. Instead of saying, hey, if $60,000 is what I need to live the lifestyle I want, what skill sets don't I have that I can learn in my spare time to get that? What careers earn that $60,000 and what do I need to move to? See, people are comfortable. I'm doing this job. I like this job. I'm comfortable in it. I'm happy in it. I just want people to pay me more money doing that job so that I can have a different or better lifestyle, right? It's just ridiculous. Everybody's, I want all this extra money because it's hard in financial times. Yeah, it is. It's tough in financial times for everybody. It's your responsibility to earn more income, to earn better skill sets, to increase your skill sets. And every one of those opportunities are free. So I'll get off that soapbox. So when we think about it, to sum up the first part of today's episode, when you think about your preparedness superpower, it is your mental, your physical, and your financial health. Those three things are all within your control. If you sit down and put your life on a pathway and a plan and you're going forward. This is why in my book, Preparedness Simplified, Book 1, The Beginning, it's available on our website, preparednesslabs.ca. Everything starts with there. When I'm talking about adopting preparedness and I'm talking about choosing preparedness as a frame for life, I'm talking about your personal, your physical, your financial, and your mental health long before I talk about flashlights, long before I talk about emergency kits, long before I talk about shelter-in-place plans and evacuation plans. I'm talking about you, because if you don't sort yourself out and put yourself in a great position, then it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter what supplies you have. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter at all. You can control and set your physical, financial, and mental health on a roadmap to success. It's going to take time. It will not be overnight, and it will take several investments. Like I said, when I put myself on a financial health, it took 9 years to get out the other side of that bubble, right? But my stress level went down considerably because I sat and I looked at the books. I'm like, I got a plan. If I just stick to the plan, I got a plan. Now, there were some bumps along the road, as always happen, and I had to readjust things as I went. But my anxiety level came down because I knew I was on the right path. My anxiety level came down because I knew I had made the decision to start taking care of my physical health and that I knew a healthy future was ahead of me. Like, those are incredibly impactful, and none of the crap I talked about today costs any money. None of it. None of taking control of your superpower costs money. Junk that excuse. Dump it. You're not a victim. You're not oppressed. You're not prevented from doing any of this. The choice is yours. The last part I want to say today on this incredible podcast episode is that you're not alone. You're not alone. Preparedness happens in a community. It starts with you accepting responsibility for your outcomes, but, you will be successful only in a community. It's about surrounding yourself with like-minded people. It's about building your social networks. It's about creating relationships with people who are pursuing similar goals. You know what it's like when you're on a weight loss journey, or you're on a physical health journey, or you're in an incredibly stressed place. And then you find other people who are living like you and who are also working their way out of the hole that they're in. Whether it be a financial hole, a physical health hole, whatever it is, you find yourself surrounded by people that are also trying to achieve good things in life. And from that community itself, it's incredibly powerful. So the idea is, do not do this in isolation. Seek out like-minded people who are doing things similar to you, right? There's a couple, and I say this because I want to counter a lot of the ideas that are on these motivational videos, right? And one that gets me fired up, and I'll get fired up today, is, disappear. Ghost the world for 6 months. Come back. Blow them away with your success. Really. Do you know what isolating a human who is a gregarious animal and requires a community and a tribe to be mentally and physically and financially successful? And your advice is to park that individual off in a corner and not talk to other humans? No. Talking to other humans that are doing the same thing they are is one of the keys to success, right? If you are trying to get physically fit, join a walking group, right? If you're a senior, and the demographics skew older to listeners to this podcast, like, go to the mall on every day. A lot of local malls have walking programs for seniors. The doors are opened, a half hour before, or at the beginning in the morning at 9 o'clock. Seniors go there and 365 days a year, air conditioned or heated space, and they just walk for 45 minutes around the mall to get their exercise. They stop, they grab a cup of coffee afterwards, and then they get on with their day. They get their exercise done in a group of other people who are achieving the same thing or chasing the same thing. There is very specific physiological benefits from being near other human beings. This idea that you're going to ghost the world, you're going to go into isolation, you're going to turn off everybody else, and you are going to emerge this beast of an animal mentally, physically, and financially, and you're going to amaze everybody at your outcomes. That sounds great on day one when you're writing the plan. But by day 3, it's a pretty scary, boring, terrifying place to be. I would not recommend it for anybody else. So remember, your superpower is to decide that where you are right now is no longer healthy for you, and that your superpower in preparedness is not grounded in kits, plans, or strategies related to preparedness. Your superpower is making the conscious decision that you want to take over responsibility for your outcomes, and you do that by improving your physical, your mental, and your financial health. All 3 of those improving cost 0 money to you. It's an investment of time and effort, and it is up to you. It is time. This will take longitudinal. It won't be over, but let me tell you, you sit down and you do the whatever strategy works for you. I gave you in today's podcast what worked for me, how it worked for me, and how I turned my life around and put everything back up on it and charging forward. And here I am today. I gave you my ideas, not because I'm an expert or because it's expert advice, but because it's what worked for me to give you a strategy idea. When you take control of your physical, mental, and financial health, 30, 60 days out, you will feel incredible. Your stress level will be down. You may still be as broke as you know what, but you've got a plan to get out of it in my 9 years or your 5 years, whatever it may be. That alone reduces a significant amount of strategy. Listen, I hope this was helpful. I hope a little discussion about things that are within your control, that don't cost money, is important. Preparedness is a lifestyle, not a stockpile. Thank you very much for continuing to support the podcast. Drop over to www.insidemycanoehead.ca. Everything about the podcast is there. There's a little place for you to drop me an email. Tell me what you think, good, bad, or indifferent. Suggestions for future episodes, what you would like me to include on the episode. Remember, society is not collapsing, but the 2020s are going to be spicy. And spicy means there's going to be a lot more exogenous shocks that are going to influence you. That's why today's superpower was so important. That's why I talk about things that are within your control, so that when something comes up and punches you upside the head, right, you have a plan. So take care, stay safe, and catch you next week.